Say something.
What do you think about that? That guy's awesome.
I'm Chuck Graves from Graves Motorsports. I'm the president of Graves Motorsports and Graves Racing Services.
And how many national road racing championships have you won?
Over 30. Over 30. This is a 2024 ZX-6R. And we've made limited modifications to it, and this would be the modifications I would make for my personal bike. So the first thing I want to be able to do is remove the mirrors, and so I've made these nice little screws that fill in where the mirrors would go and hold the bodywork on. I've changed the windscreen out to a zero-gravity windscreen, which is a little taller and comes a little further back, closer to the rider's head for a little bit better wind protection. I've put a set of clip-on handlebars that allow the rider to change the angle of the bars for his style and the width. So we can move them in and out, and we can move them back and forth in a slightly flatter angle. We've changed the front brake master to a radial type pump, which is a little bit larger piston, and this is for rider feel. I like it to be really, really rock hard. So we've added a brake lever guard, which in the event that we get close to other riders, it will help prevent them from touching our front brake lever. We've put a progressive throttle tube on here. So this has a metal throttle tube that has nylon bearings inside between the aluminum and the aluminum throttle and the aluminum handlebar, which has smoother operation, but the profile on the throttle tube is cam shaped. So the very first part of the throttle is super, super smooth and soft, and it makes it easy to get back to the gas when you're on the smallest part of the tire at full lean angle. Right, especially if you're on a track where there's bumps and it's bumpy and your hand could be moving around. It makes it really, really easy for the rider to get back to the gas. We've had that product for many years. Next, I would say, is we'll go around to the other side up here on top. We've switched from a standard clutch lever to a clutch lever and perch that has it folds if you were to tip over. It adjusts in the distance out for your hands. And then underneath it actually has different inserts for a different leverage ratio. And so I've changed the leverage ratio so that I could get a different feel on the clutch release. We've changed the brake lines to a steel braided brake line. You can see that. That kind of complements the front master cylinder. We've installed Dunlop's Q5 tires, which is just an amazing tire. When I do a track day or when I'm out riding, I don't really want to have to use a tire warmer. It just adds complexity to my day. And so the Q5 comes to temperature. You can roll right out, over to the right, over to the left, and you're almost ready to go. I say 2-3 corners and you're ready to rock. So I really, really love this tire from Dunlop. We've changed the internals of the fork to a Batubo style, which is a closed cartridge. And what I really like about this suspension, not only I can adjust all the settings to where I want, but I can adjust every part of it, spring preload, compression, and rebound with one tool, just a 4mm Allen. So, and that's also true on the rear shock. So this has the Batubo rear shock, which has high speed and low speed dampening. And again, I can adjust the preload, the compression, and the rebound with just a 4mm Allen. That's a really cool feature. We've added adjustable rear sets, and these rear sets allow you to find a place that's best for your size as a rider. So I can move this plate into different locations. I can adjust the shift lever in many different positions. I can also adjust the ratio of the throw, and I've got a folding tip in case I was to tip over. I could probably pick it right back up and keep riding. The foot peg itself is fixed, so when you're moving your foot from this position back to this position, we don't have the peg folding up and slipping out from underneath your boot. We've made these really cool stand, fork stands. So we use a pin type stand, and I'll just show you this. This just makes a lot easier for most guys to just get the stand and get it into the position. I really like that versus the spools, but we do both. We make the spools and that. I've put a lightweight rear rotor on there, rear sprocket. Normally they're steel, and since we're changing the gearing for a specific race track, we went ahead and reduced some weight there. We've added a billet engine cover. So this is made from billet material instead of a cast material, and it's a little bit thicker in the areas where if you were to tip over, it'll offer more protection than the standard cover. And it's required in some racing organizations to do this. On the other side, we have the same, another billet cover here. We've also added the all titanium exhaust system, which I'm very, very proud of. It's one of the flagship products that we do. We make the carbon fiber hanger that goes with that. And this particular exhaust, you can put a sound insert in for those track days that you might go to where they have sound requirements, and you can reduce the sound, which that part's really, really cool. So we run the extra long silencer, and this silencer can also accept the sound insert.
How do you correct the air-fuel ratio?
Okay, so we modify the ECU with a system called FT ECU, and from that software we can create patches to the existing software and modify the fuel and ignition and other restrictions, that error codes and that type of thing.
How about flipping the shifting?
You couldn't really flip the shifting because this only shifts one way. It's only an upshift bike. You could flip the lever itself, but in that case you have to change the sensor from a stock sensor to an aftermarket sensor.
So if you want to go to GP shift,
right,
you switch the sensor.
You need to switch it. You need to switch the sensor. You could do it in the software, but when we decide to go to a racing shift pattern, we go ahead and change the shifter, because the standard shifter has quite a lot of spring movement before it actually triggers, and we're using a momentary switch that has a very, very short amount of spring pressure before it actually triggers. And so it's a much more finite feeling at the lever for racing. So in that case we would flip it over. But for the track day bike and street bike that I would ride, I'm leaving the standard one on for the moment.
And I've known you for years, but how many national championships have you yourself won?
Oh, well, myself personally as a rider?
Personally as a rider?
Oh, I think only a couple, but I've never really counted that, right? I forgot all about that. I've been doing this part of the business for so long and running the race team for so many years that
because when I was getting into road racing, you were one of the fastest guys in the country.
Yeah, back in the
road
days.
Racing.
Yeah, Formula USA. Yeah. So I would say, well, let's just say one good one, which was Formula USA national champion. I think it was 92 or 93. I think it was 93, but that's a long time ago. So
yeah,
I forgot all about that. But,
a lot of tires around the track.
Yeah.
Okay, so to build this, is this the price list?
So this is the build list from this particular bike. This has all the parts and the retail prices, and so we do this for a lot of consumers who, instead of building the bike themselves, they just want to go out and enjoy a bike that's all set up and developed. And so this is what this bike would cost, and this includes the price of the bike. So the total price is $28,000 $170.
And where is your shop located?
Van Nuys, California.
And so if somebody wanted a replica of this bike here,
Yep.
would they proceed to get that?
They would contact us and say, hey, look, I'm interested in this. And normally the way it works is we'll do an interview with them to determine exactly the use of the machine, right, and the type of support that they have and their experience level. And then we tailor a build to what we think would work best for them. In some cases, guys want a lot of really fancy stuff, but it's not really important for them and would complicate things for them. So we'll offer, but in some cases, there'll be folks that don't know there are certain things available, and they might want the highest level racing bike, and we need to make sure that they know all those options are on the table for them. So we usually tune that up for the consumer, whether it's a racing team or it's a kid and his father that are going racing, or it's someone that's going to do track days. We try to tailor it where it works best for them.